Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD, and how's it going, everybody? I'm here to bring you guys another StarCraft 2 broadcast. And of course, this is following up my special series that I did with From Paris with Creep and, of course, Game of Drones. I hope you guys enjoyed that, by the way. I had a lot of fun casting those, and I'm planning to do a couple more special seasons when I get more replays. Also, hope you guys enjoyed the special on top of the special. And that, of course, was, I think it was Paris versus Berlin, and the game of drones, Game of Creep, Paris versus Berlin. Hope you guys enjoyed. That was a special cast for me. And as I said before, I'm going to go ahead and start doing more of these exhibition matches where I kind of pluck the best replays in recent history. And I decided, you know what, let's go ahead and look at a couple of the IPL 4 replays, because there were some fantastic games, some of the best that I've ever seen at IPL 4, but I didn't really get an opportunity to cast them on YouTube because I was there live. And I think a lot of you guys will like this, because I'm sure some of you didn't tune into all the games. There were so many played, and I'm sure some of you guys maybe not tuned in at all. And on top of that, it's been about a month now, so these games, for me at least, are pretty fresh in my head. I actually don't really remember these games at all. I have like a 4-week memory span when it comes to replays, and then after that, they kind of get dropped. They get truncated in my memory banks. So we actually have Fnatic alive here as a purple Terran. He's going to be down at the bottom left-hand corner, and the map is going to be Cloud Kingdom. And alive, kind of being known as the resurgent Super Saiyan Terran player, was a really dormant player for a long time in 2011, but then as the new year came around in 2012, he's been known as the hot Terran. You know, he's kind of gone on this hot streak, and he's just been shredding players left and right. Now, his opponent is not IPL Observer D. That is actually IPL Nestea. And Nestea, of course, a 3-time champion. But as of recently, he's kind of had this other turn of fortune for him. As of 2012, he's kind of been known as the slumping Zerg. And kind of this dormant, sleeping Zerg now. But the thing is, on April 6th, 7th, and 8th at IPL 4, Nestea kind of came in and he started to clean house. And this was actually on the final day of the tournament. I'm not going to cast too many IPL 4 games, so I decided, why not pick out some of the best ones? And the best ones were on the last day. And so this is Nestea coming in here, showing everybody that, hey, he's resurging. He's still got what it takes to be a champion. And so we have the resurging Nestea on the right, on the top right, as the blue Zerg. And he's going to be facing off against the hot streak Terran Fnatic alive. So this should be a pretty interesting game. And before it really gets kick-started, I just wanted to say, in the last game I did, the special on the special from Paris, with Creep versus Game of Drones, TLO versus Stefano, I mentioned that I've been playing Guild Wars 2, and I have like a teraflop, literally 1,000 gigabytes worth of footage of Guild Wars 2, and not all of it is good. I'll admit, most of it is pretty bad. But, you know, I'm planning to kind of edit it together and make something really nice for you guys. Because a lot of you guys seem to like Guild Wars 2, and I love Guild Wars 2. It's a great game. I love Guild Wars 1. PvP-centric MMO, very competitive, not like World of Warcraft. So I'll try to have something for you guys in the very near future. And getting back to this game here, it looks like Alive going up for a starport. And because he's making the tech lab on the barracks, it's going to be a Banshee opening. So Alive going to try to open up the game with a little bit of shenanigans here. And we'll see if Nestea can defend against this. Speaking of shenanigans, I do want to mention, I don't know if you guys saw the update. Blizzard is planning to make a lot of changes to StarCraft 2 here, and they're trying to make Zerg and Protoss a little bit more accessible when it comes to scouting. They're going to try to make the Observer faster. They're going to make the faster in terms of build time. They're going to try to make the Overlord faster in terms of movement speed. All these things to try to, I guess, make it easier for Zerg and Protoss to scout. They're also making Creep spread easier, because they're going to make the Queen have more energy when it comes out, so it can inject and it can spread larvae. Sorry, Ken, I'm going to have to mute you. So I'll talk a little bit about that more, because it looks like we're going to have these Hellions running in. Just going to try to take a pot, but kind of have to be forced away by the Crawler and the Queens. But, you know, as I said before, it's very interesting that, you know, Blizzard is trying to make these changes. And if you guys want to try out the balance changes, go ahead and check out the new map. I think it's called Antigua Shipyard 4.273 X2 Diablo 5. I don't know what it's called. But it is some version of of Antigua's shipyard and go ahead and play test it, because that gives Blizzard an opportunity to try out the changes that they're planning to implement. So give your feedback there. And speaking of Diablo 5, Diablo 3 is coming out very soon in the near future. In fact, in a couple of weeks. Hopefully you guys are stoked for that, as much as I am. And here we go, Banshee coming in. So we're finally going to get a little bit of first blood drawn here. But I don't think this Cloak Banshee is going to pay off at all, because there's already a Spore Crawler up. And in fact, a secondary crawler on the way. I don't even think the Banshee will be able to get the Queen kill. And it might be able to get one more drone, but that's about it. And Alive really investing into the Cloak, investing into the Banshee, only getting 2 drone kills. All in all, that could have been done by a Hellion. And so Alive here finding himself really far on the back foot now. And he's going to have to find a way to balance himself and get back on his toes. And losing Hellions is not the way you want to do it. It looks like Alive's going to lose 1 Hellion here, but the Zerglings are pretty redded out. He might be able to roast him up. Nah, unlucky. And he loses a 2nd Hellion as well. Nestea picks off 2 Hellion kills and really now kind of tipping Alive to the point where he's about to fall over on his backside. But it looks like he's going to try to rebalance with this Banshee. Picks off a couple of drone kills. Unfortunately for him, with the Spore Crawler and the Queen nearby, the detection and the anti-air is just too much for that Banshee. And now Alive so far on the back, what is he going to do? He hasn't expanded yet. And oh, Alive, you're pulling off all of his SCVs off the mineral field. For a moment there, I was like, is he expanding? Is he going to the natural? But I was like, no, he doesn't have another command center. So he's going for an all-in here, and it's almost like a modified, you know what? Oh crap, I'm so far behind. I'm gonna go for the 1-1 all-in, even though you're Zerg, and it's supposed to go against Protoss. And now I'm kind of getting deja vu, because I remember now I casted this particular set. I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, though. I only remember what happens here anyways. But here comes Alive, and he's got to be careful. Those Banelings are there. The Banelings hit their mark. They get quite a few Marines, but not the SCVs. This other Baneling will get some SCVs. And that was a good shot by Nestea, but now he doesn't really have the anti-air to deal with the Banshees. And he's going to have to get some Queens out, maybe more Spore Crawlers up, but unfortunately Spore Crawlers won't work because of the Siege Tank, and Siege Mode is research. And Alive now beginning to set up shop. This all-in might actually work. He's going to start to pound down the Extractor and the Spore Crawler, and both have fallen. We can see Nestea just in a scramble now, trying to get out some Banelings, but he needs anti-air. He needs Queens right now, and he's only making 1 Queen. He's going to try to run into Zerglings. He's going to shove everything against that tank, throwing everything, including the kitchen sink. And he is going to be able to get that Siege Tank down. That was a big blow. Doesn't have to worry about Siege Artillery now. He can rely a little bit more on Spore Crawlers. But he's losing so many Banelings. I don't know about this, Nestea. And he does have a Spire. And he's making 5 mutas right now. So maybe he was just trying to buy time to get mutas out. But I don't think it will be enough or nearly in time in order to defend this hatchery. And the Natural is definitely going to go down here. The Natural is bleeding right now. These mutas are just a little bit too far extended. You know, I think it's a good idea here for Nestea to just cut his losses. You know, his arm is bleeding. It's chopped up into multiple parts. Just amputate it. Go back into the main, remuster his army, and live on as a cripple. Because right now, he is really bleeding. He's hemorrhaging right now. The Natural is down. I like what he's doing with these Mutalisks, though. He picks off the reinforcing tanks. That's going to force Alive to micromanage 2 different fronts, and that can help a lot, because that's going to keep the firepower suppressed. But looks like the Natural hatchery, the Macro hatchery is going to fall as well. And now the production from Nestea is so hindered. He's only going to have 1 hatchery making units. He's got to pick off this tank. Can he do it? The tank falls to 8 HP, and it just barely survives with 8 health intact. That was a miracle upon miracles for Alive. And now he's got 2 tanks, he's sieged up, he's continuing to blast away the Zerg main. It looks like the spawning pool will be the next casualty of war. If Nestea loses the spawning pool, he's going to be a cripple with no legs and no arms, and the spawning pool falls as well. Oh my god, the siege tanks finished it off when we thought that Nestea had kept it alive with his Mutalisks, but the tanks were able to finish it. And now Nestea can only rely on Mutas. His Spire, he's trying to reproduce the spawning pool at the same time. He picks off a tank, picks off a second tank. There we go. Nestea gets a little bit of breathing room. That's going to buy him that necessary time to get some units out, but he can only make Mutalisks right now. And I don't know where these Zerglings come from. He must have saved them up. The reserves have been called upon. The army reserves are here, and the Banelings and Zerglings clean up those Marines. Nice job by Nestea coming out at the very last second. That was literally from the cuts. And he was able to make a hold. I cannot believe Nestea repelled that attack. The modified 111, I don't give an F all in from Alive. Almost finishes off Nestea. Almost finishes off Nestea. Nestea's on the deathbed right now. He's bleeding all over the place, but the medics are able to keep him alive. And Nestea now growing back like the blob, stronger, better than ever. Maybe not stronger or better than ever. He's actually still in a pretty bad position. But if you guys look on the mini-map, he is trying to double expand to get back on his feet, regrow his feet, if you will. And some Mutalisks coming up in here. Some people say the best defense is a good offense, and certainly that's what Nestea's trying to do. But that is deflected. One Banshee coming in here with Cloak. And no Overseer nearby. In fact, no Overseer in production, even though there's a lair at the main. And this Banshee's going to be able to pick off a couple more drone kills. So the bleeding continues again. And more drones falling here. That's not what Nestea wants. I'm so surprised he's not making an Overseer, but maybe he saw that the Banshee was about to run out of energy. And speaking of Banshees, look at how many kills these two Banshees have. Combined 50+ kills between those two Banshees, and I know most of those are probably Zerglings and Banelings, but some of those are drones and some of those are queens. And it all adds up. It's a painful day here for the Zerg. Alive, the Super Saiyan Terran has gone to level 5, and he's still making pushes happen here. He's so aggressive. Needs to be careful though, because those Mutalisks can pick off the Medivacs. And Nestea comes into range of the missile turret. That's the first missile turret I've seen all day. That's a good decision from Alive to make missile turrets so he can be offensive and not have to worry so much about those mutas. Also saves the tech lab there. That was pretty huge. He's only got one factory and one tech lab, so that could hinder tank production in a major way if he loses it. Cloak Banshee's still flying out and about, but there's an Overseer this time, and that Banshee will fall. And Alive now deciding, you know what, maybe I'll fall back. He might be able to pick these mutas on the way home, and those mutas just good attention, good awareness by Nestea. And not, you know, I want to call attention to this. Look at how active Nestea is with his mutas. They're always flying. They're never sitting still. They have ADHD, and that's what you want on your mutas. You want them to have ADHD. You want them to fly around and not stand still. And Nestea didn't lose his Mutalisks to those Marines on the way home because of that. We can see how active he really is. Might be able to pick off a tank or two here as well. No, he won't. Can't say the same for Alive's Banshees. Those Banshees are not nearly as intelligent, flying right into a Spore Crawler. And you know, it's all that more shocking when you realize how much things these two players are doing at the same time. Kills off the tech lab. Now the tank production really dropping down to nothing, and the command center also being forced to get canceled. A tank could get killed as well. That would be the icing on the cake, the cream of the crop. But Nestea wasn't unable to do that. But at the same time, look at how he forced these Marines and tanks to fall back. No more tank production. There's only one factory as far as I can see. And that command center will have to be reproduced. That was a good blow by Nestea. Didn't lose any Mutalisks. And now Alive still with the foot on the pedal. You know, he's doing like 1 mile per gallon here. He's going all the way. He does not want to be conservative at all. He's just constantly launching attacks. Both players at 1 weapons upgrade, by the way, on the ground, guys. They are trying to get 1 armor at the same time, with the Terran just slightly ahead. Those mutas trying to find an opportunity to take out this army, but there's so many Marines here. I actually think that we could have a base race here as Alive gears up at the 12 at the northern position, and Nestea sends all of his forces over to the bottom left. I definitely think we're gonna have a base race. Alive coming in here with everything. Nestea has to fall back. He's sounded the horns. The horns are blaring. The alarm bells are ringing. He runs all the drones away and evacuates. And meanwhile, attacks with all of his Banelings and Zerglings. Can't say the same for these SCVs. They will not be able to evacuate in time. It's a level 5 hurricane right here, courtesy of the Mutalisks and the Zerglings. And Nestea really getting back some ground here. and killing off a considerable amount of SCVs. Alive gonna try to get some drone kills of his own. He wasn't able to get them earlier. Gonna fly in with 2 medevacs here. And it looks like he might be able to get some drones. I think so. And meanwhile, the Muta's being recalled home. Of 2 frontal attack from Alive, but Alive's tanks are on siege. He's gonna lose all of his siege tanks. And now those Marines are in a lot of trouble. They're on the creep. They're gonna have to run away. These Marines able to pick off the spawning pool for the 3rd time. I think the 3rd time today. And the Marines unable to get off the creep in time. That purple stuff, man, I'll tell you, it'll kill you. And Nestea might be able to save the lair. If he can save the lair, it's all honesty, things are looking pretty good for him because he just killed off the entire Terran army, and he will save the lair. Not too many mutas going down either. And when you look at everything, I definitely think Nestea coming out ahead in that battle. He killed off a bunch of SCVs at the natural. He didn't lose that many workers in his main. It's 34 to 31 in terms of workers killed in favor of Nestea. And now Nestea, all he's got to do is get a 3rd hatchery up. He's not mining at a 3rd. He needs a 3rd. And if you think about it from the Terran perspective, all of this kind of starting to make a little bit of sense. The chaos starting to become order, because what Alive is doing here is, even though it's super aggressive, what he's trying to do is stranglehold the Zerg into 2 bases. He's not letting Nestea get a 3rd base at all. And if he can do that, a Terran on 1 base versus a Zerg on 1 base, the Terran will almost always assuredly win because their units come cheaper and do more damage. And we can see here Alive trying to strike that 3rd hatchery again. Can he do it? He's on the mission here, and he forces the cancel yet again. Wow. Nestea just cannot catch a break. Even though Nestea's army is bigger right now, he just cannot get the mining he needs. He's trying to remake the spawning pool for like the 3rd time today, I think, and it's finally now going to come up. He can make more Zerglings. Goodness, this is such a crazy game. And you know, Alive, it's not so crazy that he's just insane. He's making these attacks when he knows there's no spawning pool on the field. Now the spawning pool is finished and there's 34 Zerglings coming out, and this is a good time for Alive to maybe say, you know what, I think that spawning pool probably is coming up right now, and I should pull back. And voila, Alive decides to pull back. Very good timing. Instinctual right here. When you play StarCraft 2 enough, everything becomes second nature. It becomes an instinct. And Alive has that killer instinct pumping through his veins. Nestea right now in survival mode, trying to get that 3rd base up. He needs the gas so badly. Look at how starved his gas is. Only barely 100 gas. It doesn't even get to 100 because every time it does, it drops back down for more Mutalisks. And it looks like Alive here rolling the dice, going for a big gamble. He's going to try to attack this hatchery again, and he knows if he can limit that hatchery, he forces the cancel on the minimap, that Nestea just will not have gas to play this game out. And Alive here, you know, roll the dice. Looks like it's going to pay off. Nestea trying to use his mutas on the minimap to pick off reinforcements and maybe distract these Marines and tanks and pull them back. At the same time expanding once again. He may pick some SCVs here. Meanwhile, there's a medevac flying in, but it looks like he's going to pick some SCVs and some mules. Good job by Nestea to, you know, get a little bit of vengeance. 44 to 35 now, and the medevac fell. The medevac did die. So Nestea, once again, even though it looks like every time, you know, he can't get gas, he can't get the 3rd base mining, he somehow finds these little incremental battles. He's winning the small battles, just losing, I think, the main battles, the huge battles where those Marines are at. But at the same time, you know, he hasn't lost nearly as many workers. And if you look at the army supply tab, he is at 124 to 100. He is looking pretty decent. He's just got to get the 3rd base. That's what he's losing right now, the economic war. At the same time, Alive, I guess he could do with another base pretty soon as well, because both players are certainly going to be mined out soon. And look at this, 25 minutes plus in, and both players accumulating almost 30,000 resources lost. That is pretty astronomical. And to compound on that, the shock value is the fact that they still are only mining off of 1 base apiece. Nestea about to get the 3rd base up, but right now they're just mining out of 1 base apiece. That's just insane for 25 minutes plus in. Muta's now trying to fly in, trying to do some more damage, but Alive wisely leaving some Marines at home. I would like to see him place some missile turrets up. That would free up those defensive Marines for offensive purposes. And here comes Alive. Once again, knows that if he can take out this hatchery, he's in a good spot. He's sieging up on the high ground here on Cloud Kingdom. This Mita's gonna come in, they'll pick off the tank once again. That was a good job by by Nestea. And Nestea here just gotta try to make a big enough army. If he can get enough of an army here, he can deflect this attack on the high ground. But it's so scary right now. He's trying to use the Mutalisks here to pick off some wayward Marines, but there's just too many Marines here. The clump is too massive, but Nestea using the Mutas as bait and now sends the rest of his Banelings and Zerglings in. Some of the Banelings not training on the Marines though, getting shot for free by the tank, and now it looks like these Marines trying to get back up on the high ground. All of a sudden, Alive finds himself sandwiched between two armies. And it looks like he's going to lose most of his tanks. All the tanks, except for one dropping right there. And that was a really good play by Nestea. But you know what? He didn't have enough Banelings. He lost so many when they were idling underneath the tanks. And now he's going to lose so many drones. Oh my god, the drones. It's a drone massacre. But it looks like if Nestea can pick off these medevacs, it might be worth it. He can pick off quite a few medevacs here, but more reinforced Marines come in, and he was able to get out actually quite a few medevacs, about half the medevacs going down there. So now he doesn't have to worry nearly as much about mobility from the Marines and the fortitude from the constant healing. There's only 3 medevacs left in the skies, and you know what? If you look at the overall battle, I think Nestea came out a little bit ahead right there. He pushed Alive back, and now Nestea, all he has to do is, you know, get that third running, get some mining going so he can have some more funds to continue to fight this war, because both players are running on fumes right now. Literally out of gas, out of resources, out of money, out of everything. Here comes those Mutas trying to run in there, but the Banelings get shot and blown apart by the siege tank. And if only Nestea could prevent this third command center from going down. Alive needs to get the third, actually. He needs it so badly because he has no mining going on at the main. He has no mining going on at the natural. Nestea comes in and delays tank production once again, but he finds his Mutas clumped between 2 different armies. That was a bad decision from Nestea. One of the few poor mistakes that you see him make as a tactical commander. You don't see it very often. That was one of the poor ones. He did lose some Mutas there, but if he can get some SCVs, it might be well worth it. And this is such a close game. It's down to the wire. You could cut it with a knife. And I still don't know who's going to come out ahead. Nestea with the overwhelming air favor. Alive with the overwhelming numbers on the ground with the Marines and tanks. It is one fully mining base so far Alive, and that is a lot of income right now for the Terran player. All of a sudden reinvigorating his backfield, his production queues, bringing everything back onto full production value here. I can't say the same really for Nestea. He's only mining off of one base, and he's not even getting the gas, which is what he really needs. He could have so many more Mutas on the field. He could go up to high tech if he could get some gas going. It looks like, look at the legion of Marines coming out here for Alive, all coming from that fresh mining expansion. It looks like Nestea will try to take out some of these Marines. Can the 3-time code as champion hold on here? Remember, guys, it is a best of 5. Can Nestea hold on or not? It looks like Alive is setting up on the high ground overlooking that hatchery. This is a fantastic spot for Alive to be at. He can siege up this hatchery all day long. And look at the workers right now, 20 to 15. Nestea and Alive both just on the last bare minimums here for their worker counts. And can Nestea hold on? He picks off some of these Marines. The nice thing here for Nestea is those tanks are somewhat exposed. He can maybe pick off a tank or two, but every time he tries to fly in, the Marines go to town. And here comes Nestea. He's got to clean up the tanks. He does just that. And I can't believe it. Nestea is going to be able to clean up this army. But reinforcements arriving. That is the value of having a fresh mining base with meals for the Terran. I don't know if Nestea's going to have enough to clean this up. He doesn't have any Banelings anymore. And now all Alive has to do to drive that nail home is kill off this hatchery. The drones being pulled off the mineral field. So many drones going to go down here. And really, Nestea only has 25 workers. Now he's down to 7. And it doesn't look like Nestea's going to be able to hang on. He's run out of money. He's run out of workers. And reinforcements continuing to stream in. GG calls Nestea. And Alive with the first victory of this best of 5. What a game. That was so back and forth and so close. I'm actually pretty shocked that Alive was able to win this game countless times, just keeping Nestea strangled on 2 bases. You know what, if we look at these gases here, they were never even touched. Let's check out the gases up to the north, never touched at all. So Nestea was, he was literally not making any gas at all, and that was pretty hindering. It hurts Zerg when they can't mine any gas, so really good. A lot of credit has to go to Alive here for the type of strategy he employed. Non-stop aggression, and it really all started with this, it started with the all-in off of 1 base. And if we look around here, let's go ahead and see if we can find it. Initially it was a Banshee play, didn't work out too well. We can see then he added on, actually this barracks was added on already. So maybe his whole game plan the entire game was to go for an all-in. But if we fast forward to the point of the all-in here, we can see that this was such a prolonged battle, starting around 10 minutes. And I'm just going to fast forward and look at how long this battle was raging on for. But Nestea never really gave up, never surrendered. And one thing that I thought he did spectacularly well here was, well, you know, buying time, trying to survive. He was trying to get centrifugal hooks up, which was a huge upgrade. +1 weapons, also big as well. He had a Spire with mutas coming. So he knew that if he didn't give up, if he could just hang on, he could stay in this game. But Alive also knew that if he could kill off his hatchery, it was good news for him. And it looks like he was able to kill it. Now this, I think, is an interesting point in the game. This is where Alive's going to decide, you know what, do I attack or do I fall back? And I think he made the decision to keep attacking, which I don't think is wrong. I think it's kind of a preference thing, because certainly at this point, after you kill off this hatchery and you see that there's mutalisks in the skies, you might be inclined to think, hey, I should go ahead and pull back. If it wasn't mutalisks, if it was just like Zerglings and ground units, then you can keep attacking for sure, because you can fight in this narrow choke and you don't have to worry about, you know, ground units that much. But mutas are a different story. They're annoying, they fly through the skies. I think Alive could have fallen back, but at the same time it's not wrong to keep attacking them. So if we keep going through this battle, it was literally what, a 4-minute brawl at the natural, and finally Nestea somehow, some way off of 1 base, able to muster up enough of an army to push this army away. So that was absolutely crazy. And then just to kind of highlight how starved for Nestea was for money, look at this. He was literally distance mining this expansion because he had so many drones, but he didn't have enough bases to work off of. And at this point, he was actually way ahead in the drone count, but he just had no bases. So a really crazy game with Alive constantly applying pressure. Like I said, the Super Saiyan level 5. And it seemed to have worked out pretty well. This battle I thought was really interesting as well, and this was one of the last battles, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. We can see that at this point we have, let's go ahead and rewind a little bit because it's a little bit too far ahead. I do kind of hate how sometimes when you watch a replay that's really long, you can't jump to 27:30, you have to go between 2 minutes, which kind of sucks, but whatever. Here we go. So I thought this battle was pretty interesting. We have Alive, you know, like most standard Terrans, claiming the high ground on Cloud Kingdom, trying to get the siege tanks at the point position where they can take out that hatchery. However, what Nestea did here was really nice. He picks off the tank at the north, and he has all these Zerglings and Banelings here, and I think at this point he said, you know what, I'm going to try to run up the ramp, but he saw the tanks and he said, all right, screw that. Fall back. I need to find a better position and maybe wait for the creep, maybe let the forces splinter off from a little bit from each other, because every Terran is going to send a forward party of Marines every single time. So here comes a forward party of Marines, what Terran should do, and Nestea wisely keeping the rest of his Banelings and Zerglings away from the siege tanks. And then once he's drawn them on the creep, well, then they're in trouble. And this, I know I'm talking a little bit about, a lot about the Zerg here, not a lot about the Terran, but this was really smart. What did Nestea do? He pulls the rest of his Banelings back instead of going on a wild goose chase for just 8 Marines. A lot of Zergs would just say, you know what, screw it, everything goes in here. But the reality of it is you don't know what's behind. You don't know how many forces are reinforcing. So he only sends some of his units to go after the stranglers, the stragglers. And he also realizes that if he can get his forces up on the high ground, he's got the ability to sandwich. And I think Alive kind of realizing what was happening just a little bit late and finally gets in position with his Marines, but this was looking pretty bad for him, but the micro from Alive was just so good. Look at that. And he was able to take out the rest of those Balins. So from there, you guys know the rest of the story, but what a fantastic game of StarCraft 2. Let's just take a look at their upgrades at the end here. 0-1 for Flyer, about to finish 0-2. Marines at 1-1, and Ground at 1-1. But the whole mantra of that game really was Alive taking out the third base, not letting Nestea mine any gas, and you guys can see Nestea never able to go into Hive Tech as a result. Had to stay on layer, had to rely purely on Mutalisks, and Mutas in the late game, they're pretty good. Muta Zergling can work, but you'd much rather have Hive, you'd much rather have Broodlord Ultra and Infestor. So, good game, and Alive takes the first one, Super Saiyan 1 point, and we'll see if Nestea can come back or not. This is a best of 5. I'm your broadcaster, HD, and we'll see you guys in the next video. HD, signing out.